This is Lesson 16 Social Life of the Enlightenment. How did Enlightenment thinkers address issues of racial and social difference, and how did new institutions and social practices diffuse Enlightenment thought? Well, we're back to College Board Topic 4.3, the Enlightenment, the creation and transmission of knowledge, including the relationship between traditional sources of authority and the development of differing worldviews, had significant political, intellectual, economic, cultural, and social effects on European and world societies. So, explain the influence of Enlightenment thought on European intellectual development from 1648 to 1815, that's period 2. A variety of institutions, including salons, explored and disseminated Enlightenment culture. So we're going to learn all about these salons. And we're in the same places: England, France, Dutch Republic, Italy, Scotland, East Prussia. And we've still got our old key players: John Locke, Montesquieu, Jean-Jacques Rousseau, David Hume, Adam Smith, Immanuel Kant, Cesare Beccaria, Voltaire, Denis Diderot. But we've got some different concepts. The salon, we're going to learn what that is, and what the public sphere is. We've got a new art movement, Rococo, and we're returning to the Querelle des Dames. And we have the coffee house, kind of like a salon, but not exactly. The big idea: Enlightenment thinkers struggled with their own biases and their own prejudices and their own outright ignorance, just like everyone else did. There was nothing special about them. They found that it was not so easy to apply their values and their methods of empiricism and rationalism and reason and objectivity and the scientific method against their own traditional values and beliefs in several areas. For example, other cultures, racial equality, gender equality, social class. Enlightenment thinkers hotly debated the relative virtues and failings of other cultures that they studied, like, for example, China and the Muslim world, especially the Ottoman Empire and the New World and the Pacific Islands. These other cultures served as a mirror for helping Enlightenment thinkers evaluate their own culture. How does Europe measure up against the rest of the world, ethnically and politically, scientifically, technologically, culturally? And there were many diverse opinions in all these areas. So Enlightenment debates about race. Race was a scientific classification. Before the Enlightenment, Europeans viewed nations in terms of a country's history and culture. Maintaining rationalism and objectivity regarding race was a particular challenge for Enlightenment thinkers. Most Enlightenment thinkers were racists, and their application of reasoning and rationalism fell short. But not all were racists. Some things that they believed were pretty accurate. Carl Linnaeus, Swedish botanist, he classified plants and animals in a hierarchy of species, and he believed that all humans originated from one species and that different races developed largely due to climatic conditions, which is not the same thing as climate theory of race. Although Kant believed that the first people were white and arose in northern Germany, Linnaeus and Kant both believed that some races, theirs, were superior to others. The problem is when you classify people in terms of a hierarchy, somebody has to go on top, somebody has to go below. And Europeans already thought that they were culturally on top. And now this hierarchical system told them that they were also biologically superior as well. And these views served as a justification for slavery, and this belief goes back to ancient times. Those who are inferior are particularly fit for slavery, and that goes back to Aristotle when we studied the emergence of racist ideas. Some thinkers challenged these racist ideas. However, most Enlightenment thinkers were hindered by their traditional values and beliefs. Women and the Enlightenment. Enlightenment thinkers were fascinated by the Querelle des Dames, the ongoing debate over women's social roles, and the notion that men and women should perhaps have equal rights was very rare. Mary Astell, 1666 to 1731, published a book called A Serious Proposal to the Ladies in 1694. And in it, Mary Astell said that women should pursue a, quote, life of the mind, that there should be a women's college. And she criticized marriage. And in her critique of marriage, she consciously used the exact same wording that men used to criticize the absolute authority of kings. Very deliberate. Enlightenment women were much more involved in the spread and distribution of Enlightenment ideas than they were in the generation of Enlightenment ideas. And a huge part of that was the salon. So what was it? The salon wasn't a place to get your hair and your nails done. Salons were weekly meetings in the homes of wealthy Enlightenment enthusiast women. And all kinds of important people were brought together in these salons, especially philosophers. And they would have a meal and discuss the latest Enlightenment trends and Enlightenment ideas. And invitations to these salons were highly prized. You got an invitation, to a salon? Oh, you thought you died and went to heaven. Rococo. This is the art movement that is most associated with the Enlightenment, along with neoclassicism. The word Rococo is actually derived from a French word, rocaille, or rocaille, and it means pebbles, and it's referring to the stones and shells that are used to decorate the interior of caves. Rococo featured complex compositions, it featured ornateness, fuzzy details, and women actually popularized Rococo art. So let's learn a little something about this. Rococo reflected a spirit of gaiety and lightness and airiness. There were Rococo-style dances, and Rococo portrayed the carefree life of the aristocracy. In Rococo, you get lots of landscapes that look like they come out of fairy tales. Rococo flourished from about 1715 to about 1774. It was centered in France. It was associated most closely with Louis XV. It also flourished in Germany and Italy, and it was a light, elaborative, decorative style. And it used lots and lots of pastel soft colors, especially, as you can see, lots and lots of pink. Rococo was eventually replaced by neoclassicism. That was the artistic style reflected in those American and French Revolution paintings and those paintings of the Founding Fathers that we always see. Aristocratic portraits were common Rococo subjects. This painting right here is a portrait of Madame de Pompadour, mistress of Louis XV, and she actually commissioned the creating of many paintings and objects that was in the Rococo style. And you can see pink all over her dress and everywhere around her. Aristocratic families in leisure time were also popular Rococo subjects. We've got Rococo interiors, pink. More about women and the Enlightenment. Jean-Jacques Rousseau believed that gender roles were determined by nature. The roles of men and the roles of women were diametrically opposed. Women's natural role was to attract a man, care for the children and the home, and maintain a private life, whereas a men's natural role was politics and public life. The public sphere, what was that? The public sphere was really any kind of intellectual space where the public came together to discuss society, economics, politics, etc. Part of that was the reading revolution. The production and the consumption of books skyrocketed during the Enlightenment, especially books about the art and sciences. But there was a broader range of subjects also. Reading itself became more private, more individual, and more critical. There were newspapers, lending libraries for people who couldn't afford books, coffee houses. Coffee houses were great places to have philosophical discussions. There were book clubs, debating societies, Masonic lodges. Craftsmen and shopkeepers and middle-class men and nobles all came together in these Masonic lodges. The Enlightenment culture was primarily an elitist culture. Common people were viewed as too unsophisticated to understand these issues, and elevating them was considered not worth the effort. And so common people were often barred from salons and from academies, but books were becoming much more affordable. Be sure to check out our slideshow with about 23 pieces of Rococo art that you should be able to recognize as Rococo. Thank you very much.